Welcome to this episode of the Smart Leaders Sell podcast. I'm Jessica Lorimer, sales coach and leadership expert, and I am really excited to dig down into today's episode. Okay, so this week we're talking all about the power of community, which I'm really excited about because that quote, rising tides lift all boats, that makes me happy. That's the kind of person I am. And when I started out in this online world almost 5 years ago now, it's literally coming up to my business anniversary or my business birthday. How exciting is that? I might have to do something for the poddies for my business birthday. But anyway, when I first started out in the online space, there was this real feeling that a rising tide lifted all boats, and people were really excited to almost come out of isolation and be connected with people. And this is, when Facebook groups were really popular, and people had these huge Facebook groups of 30,000 people, 80,000 people, 100,000 people who were supremely engaged. And it was almost like people had come out of isolation mode and they were just really excited to be around other people and really embrace this idea that they were part of something bigger. They were part of this bigger business building community, and it was really awesome. And of course, there were some bits that weren't so awesome, like spammy messages and all that kind of stuff. But for the majority of the time, there was this real sense of community. And it's something that over the last 2 years, I feel like has been diluted in the entrepreneurial space. There are now so many Facebook groups and there are so many communities that you can be part of that instead of really being a die-hard raving fan of one community and, being an excellent member of that community and contributing a lot and actually getting a lot back from it, we don't really have that anymore. Because everyone's in so many groups and everyone's so desperate to sell to everybody. So that sense of community has, it's dissipated slightly, which is something that makes me quite sad because there are so many reasons that community is powerful when it comes to building your business, making more sales, and actually enjoying the whole process. And that's what I want to run through with you guys today, that power of community and how you can really select where you want to be part of. What are you actually going to get from it? And whether or not you want to be continuing with some of the communities that you're in, or whether you want to focus on really building your own and making it the very best that it can be. Now, I do have to say that there is, it's not an ulterior motive. That sounds that sounds really sinister, but there is a great news for this episode is that we are just opening the doors to the Dotties, my private membership. So if you are somebody who is looking, if you get to the end of the episode and you're thinking, actually, Jess, I want a community, I want a learning community, then you are more than welcome to head over to my website where you can go and check out the Dotties membership and see if is for you. That's all I'm going to say about it for this episode because it's 10 minutes and nobody wants to hear me bang on about it for ages. So, power of community. Why a community is important, what can we actually get from them, and what should we be using them for? So, way back when, people used to get very excited when they would join these large Facebook groups because we could do things like having like ladders so we could get more engagement on our social media profiles. We could have yes ladders so that we could get, a bunch of people opting into a new thing that we created. And building a huge email list. We could, go into that group and give sometimes really great advice that would get us clients. And also sometimes we could go in there and be a little bit sleazy and get people in there to buy from us as well. But the thing is, communities dissipated because people are trying to do everything in the same community, right? And community isn't designed that way. And powerful communities that you actually take a lot away from are not designed for you to do everything. And that's fairly similar to sales. If you try and be everything to everyone, you're going to find it a lot more difficult to make money because you will end up being cookie cutter and people just won't, they won't ever feel like you're talking to them, even though you're trying really hard. And it's the same with community. What started to happen was that people would join groups because they thought, I want to learn about business building. for example. I want to learn about marketing. So off they'd trot onto Facebook and they would join a group specifically about marketing, and they'd learn from the group owner, who was probably showing up and, you know, writing some posts, doing a couple of challenges maybe. When Facebook Live came in, rocking the lives, and they'd be learning about these marketing skills and being like, oh, okay, that's awesome. And then what people realized was this whole, oh, we can get clients from groups too. And so they kind of sat in these groups and they're like, right, okay, so now I'm gonna learn about marketing a little bit of the time from this group. And then some of the rest of the time, I'm gonna try and get clients from here, because this person has brought, you know, X amount of thousands of people into this group. And why should I spend the time doing that when they've already done it for me? Like, I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna maybe, you know, show up and maybe I'll write some posts and maybe I'll give value 3 to 5 times a day, and I'll get some clients. And that worked, right? That worked for about 2 years. People could do that, and it did work. And then what happened was, you know, group owners got, understandably, a little bit frustrated about this, because they're like, well, hang on. We spent all this time and this energy and a lot of time, money in ad spend, or, you know, growing their audience to get people into this group. And now here's all these other people who are kind of like, they're not there to learn from me, really. They're here because I have this huge audience and they just want to leverage it and make a ton of money out of people that actually I've nurtured and cultivated and actually found in the first place. And so that's when groups shut down pitching. And it was like this mass domino effect. It was like effectively the Mexican wave of internet trends. And every group owner was like, me next, me next, me next, me next, when it came to shutting down pitching in the Facebook group, because people were tired of it. It was getting really spammy, news feeds were getting clogged. And what group owners were finding was that there just wasn't engagement anymore. You know, there were no interesting questions to be answered. It was just this thinly veiled promotional crap that was going around the newsfeed every single day, and people were just getting frustrated, you know. So then they weren't coming into the group, and then the group owner was missing out on all these people that they'd carefully nurtured and looked after and tried to create this amazing experience for. But this idea of community, it still stayed really strong, and people still wanted to be part of something bigger, because as humans, you know, we are naturally programmed to want to be surrounded by other people. We're social creatures. Even the introverts like me among us, you know, we inherently want to be surrounded by other people. It makes us feel safe. It gives us a way to normalize our experiences. It helps us set boundaries. It helps us learn. There are lots and lots of benefits to being part of a community, any community, not just a business building one. You know, why do you think they make kids go to school? It's not just crowd control. So this idea of community, you know, is still really powerful, and people want to revamp it. And that's why we're seeing people who are, you know, trying to regenerate this idea of community just in other formats. You know, people are in podcasts, in podcast communities. We've got YouTubers who are creating communities over in video platforms. People still, you know, people still have Facebook groups. I still have a Facebook group, and I'm still like, you know, it's seeing where that's going. People have email lists and are really dominating the email marketing scene. Lots of people are sending out daily emails now, which is cool. And we have everything in between: LinkedIn communities, forums, Twitter hubs, like all that kind of stuff is happening because people are so desperate for community, because we know the power that it can hold. So what kind of community should you choose? Like, how should you choose what kind of community to grow? How should you choose what communities to be in? And what should you do about the rest? Well, in terms of creating your own community, you've got to think about your strengths and really do play to your strengths here. So I did a little poll. You might have seen it on my Instagram or my Facebook feed. I was talking to people about where they hang out. Like, oh, you know, and surprise, when I asked people on Instagram, where do you hang out, Instagram or Facebook? They were all like, Instagram. Instagram is the best. We are diehard Insta fans. And I was like, okay, cool. And when I asked it on Facebook, everyone on Facebook was like, oh no, Facebook is awesome. And you might be thinking, well, Jess, what a pointless exercise. But it proves my point. Community is not about trying to figure out what the next hot platform is. Because realistically, everyone's different, and your ideal clients will be somewhere. They will be on social media in some form. So if you're thinking about setting up a community, whether it's a Facebook group, whether you're setting up an Instagram profile and using a hashtag to set your community, it really doesn't matter. What matters is that you are there and you are consistent. You have a clear purpose behind what you're doing. So the best Facebook groups and the best, people who are great at building audiences, for example, the reason that they're the best is because they have a really clear purpose for why people are there. Why does somebody follow them? Why are they part of that group? What are they going to get out of it? So when you're creating your own community, it's less about the platform you choose and actually more about the purpose it has and the consistency that you have in showing up and taking the time to develop that community. Because, one of the big things used to be the Facebook groups. Oh, but Jess, they take so much time to build. And I'm like, yeah, you have a Facebook group, you have to get people into it. It takes like a year to get like 1,000. Your first 1,000 is really hard. And then after that, it becomes a lot easier. And, up until that first 1,000, generally you as the group owner are the person who is having to start a lot of the conversations a lot of the time. And it's work. Yeah. And so what happens is that people fall out this pattern of consistency. They're like, oh, well, I posted on Monday and just nothing. So next Monday, I'm just not going to post. And they fall out of that consistent pattern. And once you fall out of that consistent pattern, it's hard to continue growing your community and continue engaging them, because obviously you haven't been engaged with them in a while, and they can't ever guarantee that you're going to continue to do it regularly. So they're not bought in. So when you're building a community, content, consistency, and understanding what your clear purpose is. And when you're being part of a community, you might be thinking, well, Jeff, what's the point? Like, why should I bother being part of a community? If you're saying all these things like spammy news feeds and, weird sleazy sales messages, like what's the point in being part of a community? And it depends in what you want from it. Okay. So I'm part of some communities where I want to learn. I joined an incredibly high level mastermind this year. In fact, I'm doing 2 this year because 1 wasn't enough. And I joined 2 incredibly high level masterminds so that I could learn. So I could learn from the collective hive mind. One of the masterminds I'm in is purely 7- and 8-figure female entrepreneurs. So I get to learn from people who have done way more stuff than me, which is incredibly exciting. And another mastermind is a group of people who are more at peer level, and in some cases who are not as far ahead as I am right now. And so actually that's kind of cool too, because I get to learn about what people are going through, what the new trends are, what new thoughts and new fears are, and that's cool too. Other communities I'm in because I want to sell to their audience. I'm very open about this. Okay, so there are certain communities that I'm in as a guest expert, or I go in and I've done trainings, or I'm part of the team that helps participants of certain courses. And I do that in those communities. I take on that role as somebody who is looking to grow my audience or sell to that community. Obviously, with the caveat that the group owner has okayed this. I'm not going into these groups and just doing all these random trainings and then being like, by the way, I'm also going to sell to your audience. If people ask me to come in, and usually it's because they want me to talk about a specific offer, or they want me to do a particular training, and then they want me to invite people to get onto my list, or to go listen to my podcast, or to buy the offer that they're promoting. Okay. So there are certain communities that I'm in because I sell to them. And there are other communities that I'm in because I really like that stuff. Okay. I am in a group on Facebook for chihuahuas for sale. I love chihuahuas. I would never have had one before I got Max, but now that I have Max, I really like them. And I'm in this group because it's about chihuahuas, and people post photos of their like chihuahua litters, and I'm just like, oh my goodness, can we have another dog every single time? And people talk about the commonalities of the breed, and I'm just there because I'm like, cute pictures of dogs. I like chihuahuas. This is somewhere I like being. Okay. So there are sort of 3 reasons that you're going to be in a community. 1, you like it. 2, you're learning something from it. 3, you are actively trying to sell to the people in it. And we have to use these carefully. These aren't things that, you know, that they're not all the same. They're not all the same goals. So if you go into one community and you expect to get all three things, that's very, very rare. And it's very few and far between groups that you can do that with, unless, of course, you're creating your own communities around these areas. Okay. So when you're thinking about what communities you should keep in your list, and if you're anything like me, I just went through my list of Facebook groups and I was astounded at how many I was still in. But when you're going through your list of communities that you're in, paid, free, whatever, actually look at what you're getting. You know, is there a clear purpose behind that group, and are you achieving the clear purpose? You know, are you in there just because you like it? Is it providing entertainment or chewing gum for the mind, or, you know, is it helping to feed an interest that you have? If it's not, put it on the maybe pile. If it's also not somewhere that you're learning anything, so you're not there because you want direct support in any particular area, and you're not there to learn from the group leader, and you're not learning from the community as a whole, keep it on the maybe pile. And if you're not there to sell to anybody in a respectful way, you know, with full permission from the group owner, then it's no longer on the maybe pile. It's just a complete no. You're not getting any of the things from it. Okay, you're not getting the sales, you're not getting learning and support, and you're not in there just because it's chewing gum for the mind. You just enjoy being there. Okay, so hopefully this has helped you make a few decisions about the communities that you're in. Make sure you're putting them into the piles. Are you in there because you're getting something you enjoy, because you're getting learning and support, or because you are able to sell? And if they don't meet any of those criteria, then I would suggest that you leave them and you find other communities that do hit one or more of those points. All right, it is possible to like something and be learning it in one community, or even be selling in one community but still enjoy the camaraderie. Okay, and like I say, the Dotties is now open for enrollment. So if you have been interested in joining the Dotties, joining our community where you can get learning and support around sales and business building and my eyes on your stuff, then make sure that you head over to smartlytosell.com, and on the very first page you'll be able to see that the Dotties is now live and you can now choose to join us. I'll see you in Friday's episode with a super special guest. Can't wait. I will see you then.